Hello and welcome to another episode of Wannabe Entrepreneur. Today is episode 99. Tomorrow is already episode 100. How crazy is this? We have been talking to each other for the past 100 days. And, the past 99 days. Tomorrow is going to be 100. And tomorrow I'll finally decide or make the final decision if I want to continue with this format of releasing an episode daily, or if I want to dial it down a little bit and to maybe do it 2, 3, 4 times a week instead. And I kind of already made up my mind, but tomorrow I'll take the final call and do the final decision. So I will let you know in the tomorrow's episode. And today I want to organize this episode. Organize, is this the right word here? Maybe, I don't know. Around a tweet. And I've been using a lot my Wannabe Entrepreneur Twitter account. If you want to follow, by the way, it's WBE Podcasts, Wannabe Entrepreneur Podcast. The link will also be in the description of this episode. And I've been using to share a little bit about my ideas and my frustrations, and also some episodes and things that I share here in the podcast. So it's kind of a nice way to support the podcast. And I follow a lot of people that also write about startups, and one of these people is Mustafa Kunmiri. I'm not sure if I said your name right, Mustafa, sorry about that. But yeah, he has a very interesting Twitter account, and he writes about startups and very cool tweets. And one tweet that got me thinking is actually a very simple one, and it just says this: hustle, but with patience. And there's so much wisdom in these 4 little words, because it's probably one of the biggest challenge, right? So when you're starting your project, when you're starting your startup, especially if you're trying to do it my way, a bootstrapping way, so no investors, let's start just you and pure hustling, pure work, and try to make it grow. It's very hard to align that with patience, because you work so hard, you work so much that you are hoping to get results rather quickly, because also you don't have much time to waste, right? Like I quit my job, I'm running on my savings, and if this just doesn't work out, I have to stop my entrepreneurial career let's call it like that, and I will have to make money somehow, and maybe in the future return. So it's very hard to be patient, and I've been working now for 99 days in this podcast, and so far I'm making 12 euros a month. And it's far from being a paycheck. I'm very happy already that I'm making money, but it's very far from making a paycheck, and I don't see a steady growth actually. So it seems that I kind of plateaued, and I don't have a growth of users and listeners. So it's very hard to have patience, and especially also if you're a developer, and if you're old listener, you already know as well that I've been also focusing on working on my climate change app, Change It, and I started working on it already since the beginning of 2021, and I've been developing it myself. And as a developer, you really understand this, how hard is this tweet. So hustle, but with patience, because how often did I have a bug or a feature that I could just not wrap my head around it. I couldn't just make it work. And this means that you spend days and days around the same little problem. And when I used to work at Trivago, for instance, we had stand-ups, which were meetings that we had every day, and we had to basically say what we have done in the last day and what we hope to do today, if we have any dependencies and so on. And it feels so bad when for 3 or 4 days you are just struggling around the same issue, and sometimes it can be a very small issue. So I've been working on a new feature for Change It, which is basically a settings menu, and it's a menu where you can define how often you want your notifications, if you want imperial or metric units. It's something that I already got a lot of people were requesting for it, and I thought, okay, this is perfect, I want to implement it right now. And where the problem lies here is in the menu itself, in the overlay that I cannot just make it work. So if you're a React Native developer, you probably know in React Native there is a library called the React Native Elements, and those they bring already a couple of elements that are super nice. You can basically just plug and play. And there's one called Overlay, which is basically a pop-up that every time you trigger it, it just overlays, as the name says, or overlaps all the other screens. So it's something that you can see, and if you go to my app, there's many examples of overlays. And for some reason, it always worked so far, but for some reason I couldn't make it work now in iOS. So it was working on Android but not working on iOS, and I didn't understand. I tried to research it, and I was googling, and by the way, if you're a developer, no question about it, like 80% of our work is knowing how to Google and how to process information super fast. And I've been doing that for the past 2 or 3 days. And the problem is that if you finish a day of work without fixing such a small issue, your mind, it's impossible to take it out of your mind. It's just it's always in the back of your mind, and you just wanted to get it done, and I don't have this feeling of relief, right? So I'm with my friends, I'm with my family, I cannot relax, I cannot watch a movie without thinking that there's something that I haven't done. And I think with of course with experience, because this is part of the job, and with experience you will kind of know how to separate things. But again, it's an example where you hustle so much trying to fix it, and you need patience. You need patience because sometimes you just need a night of sleep. You just need to go through all of this research. So I tell you what I end up doing. What I end up doing after researching and trying multiple ways to see if I could make the overlay work, I realized that I couldn't make it work. So I had to implement my own element. So I didn't use this overlay anymore, and I created my own. And to reach this decision, I mean, I wish I knew this before. It would be much better from the beginning to have done this, because this took me, 2-3 hours instead of all the days that I've lost trying to research. But to reach this point, I actually had to go through all that research, all that trial and errors until I get now. So it's really about patience, and I really believe that it's the same with my podcast, right? So I've tried so many things for marketing, new kinds of topics and new microphones, and I've learned so much, but I haven't seen the results yet, even though I've learned so much. So what I really hope is that all of this will one day conclude to having, a lot of listeners and getting a steady paycheck from the podcast. But you need to have patience until you reach this point. So yeah, definitely it's a great simple tweet. Hustle, but with patience. I will link this tweet and Mustafa's Twitter's account in the description of this episode. And by the way, Mustafa, if you hear this podcast, I would love to have an interview with you and speak with you for Wannabe Entrepreneurs. So yeah, let me know if you are up for it. And this was another episode. You already know, if you want to support, if you want to buy me a coffee, I don't do ads, so it's all up to you, the listeners, if you want to support and for how much you want to support this podcast. The link also will be in the description. And yeah, see you tomorrow.